Ethan woke to silence, so deep it felt engineered. No hum of electricity. No footsteps. No guards breathing too close. Just white. The room was pristine, glass walls, polished floor, no visible doors. A single chair sat in the center, facing him, like an invitation or a sentence. He sat up slowly, every muscle remembering pain, restraint, and choice. This is the cage, he thought. And I am supposed to feel honored to be in it. A soft chime sounded. A section of the wall shimmered and dissolved into transparency. Men appeared on the other side, old, powerful, expensive. Faces that moved markets. Hands that signed wars into existence. At the center stood Jean Queda. "Welcome," he said gently, "to the inheritance." Ethan didn't speak. Silence was a weapon. He had learned that. Zhang studied him with open fascination. "You don't look afraid." "I'm not," Ethan replied evenly. "I'm assessing." A few of the men exchanged glances. "Good. Fear made you weak. Assessment made you dangerous. This world belongs to those who understand systems," Zhang continued. "Money, influence, blood." Ethan tilted his head. "And love." Zhang smiled indulgently. "Love is leverage." Ethan nodded slowly, then said, "Then you've already lost." Zhang's smile thinned. The glass walls shifted again, revealing screens. Zariah, moving through meetings like a blade. Li Wei signing deals with men who used to hunt him. Zhang watched Ethan carefully. "You see," he said, "they are becoming what they need to survive you." Ethan leaned back in the chair. "No," he corrected. "They are becoming what you fear." Something flickered in Zhang's eyes. "Interest." "Good," Zhang said softly. "Then let us begin." The chair's arms unlocked. Ethan stood, and in that moment, unseen by everyone watching, he smiled. Because the air had not been captured. He had infiltrated. Power did not arrive loudly. It slipped in wearing silk, sitting patiently at the edge of the table, waiting for permission no one remembered granting. Zariah learned that in the first week after Ethan disappeared. The world didn't collapse the way she thought it would. It adjusted. Markets fluctuated. Old alliances paused, reconsidered. Enemies watched carefully instead of attacking outright. They were waiting to see who she would become. Zariah let them wait. The boardroom overlooked the Huangpu River, glass stretching from floor to ceiling. Shanghai glittered below like a living organism. Beautiful, ruthless, alive. Zariah sat at the head of the table. Not beside Li Wei. At the head. The men around her were powerful, CEOs, arms brokers disguised as investors, politicians who never appeared in photos. They spoke softly now. Carefully. Once, they would have spoken over her. "Mrs. Chen," one of them began. Zariah raised a hand. "I am not here as anyone's wife," she said calmly. "I am here as the majority shareholder." The room stilled. Li Wei watched her from the corner, unreadable. The man cleared his throat. "Of course. Our concern is instability. With Zhang Queda gone, the vacuum." "I created the vacuum," Zariah interrupted. A few brows lifted. "Zhang ruled through fear," she continued. "Fear is inefficient. I prefer obligation." She slid a folder across the table. Inside were documents, evidence, debts, quiet crimes. Not enough to destroy them. Enough to own them. "You will back my restructuring," Zariah said softly. "Or you will spend the rest of your lives explaining yourselves to governments that no longer need you." Silence. Then slow nods. Consent. Li Wei exhaled quietly. That was the moment he understood. She didn't need his protection anymore. Later, in the car, Li Wei finally spoke. "You planned that for weeks." Zariah stared out the window. "I planned it the night Ethan chose to leave." Her voice didn't shake. "I realized something," she continued. "No one listens to a mother begging for her child back." Li Wei's hands tightened on his knees. "So, you became someone they couldn't ignore." She turned to him. "No," she said. "I became someone they fear disappointing." Her name began to travel. Not loudly. Not publicly. in hallways, in encrypted messages, in glances exchanged before meetings. Zariah Chin doesn't threaten. She replaces. She remembers. A politician in Hong Kong withdrew support from a rival faction after a single dinner with her. An arms route quietly changed hands overnight. A man who once laughed at her proposal now waited 6 hours outside her office. Zariah did not rush him. Power enjoyed patience. At night, when the city dimmed and even Li Wei slept, Zariah allowed herself one ritual. She opened a locked drawer. Inside, a photo of Ethan as a baby, a threadbare hoodie he left behind, and a burner phone that never rang. She pressed the hoodie to her face. "I'm coming," she whispered into the dark. "But I have to become someone first." Tears slid silently. Then she wiped them away. Queens did not weep where anyone could see. The message arrived encrypted, routed through 7 dead servers. "You are changing the board too quickly." Zariah typed back herself. "That's the point." A pause. Then, "You are becoming him." Her fingers hovered. Then she replied,
"No.
"I am becoming what survived him." She deleted the thread. Li Wei stood beside her on the balcony later that night, the city breathing beneath them. "You're scaring people," he said quietly. She didn't look at him.
Good."
He studied her face. "And me?" She finally turned. "I need you," she said honestly. "But I won't soften myself to keep you comfortable." Li Wei nodded once. "I didn't fall in love with comfort." She took his hand. "Then stay."
He did.
Far away, in a white room behind glass walls, Ethan watched a live feed. His mother, unbowed, unbroken. A man beside him murmured, "She's dangerous." Ethan smiled faintly. "Yes," he said. "She always was." And for the first time, since being taken, he felt proud. She lost her son. She refused to lose herself. And the world learned a dangerous truth. A mother with nothing left to fear is unstoppable. The first sign of betrayal was silence. Not the dramatic kind. Not gunfire or threats. Just doors that stopped opening. Zariah's twin noticed it during a meeting she was never meant to attend alone. The room was full, yet the seats beside her remained empty. Conversations shifted when she entered. Eyes slid away too quickly. Power, she had learned, was loud when it arrived. But when it left, it was quiet. She folded her hands on the table, spine straight, face calm. She had been trained well, by men who believed loyalty could be engineered and blood could be owned. "Let's begin," she said coolly. No one moved. Finally, an older man cleared his throat. "There has been a change in leadership priorities." Her jaw tightened. Zhang Keita built this council. A murmur rippled. Built, not leads. She felt the shift then, like a crack beneath her feet. Zariah's name was not spoken. That was the cruelty of it. Instead, documents appeared. New signatures. New approvals. Entire networks rerouted under entities Zariah controlled. Clean, legal, devastating. The twins' hands trembled beneath the table. "She doesn't understand this world," she said sharply. "She's emotional, reactive." The men exchanged looks. One of them smiled thinly. "She understands leverage," he said. "And unlike Zhang, she remembers kindness." That was the moment the twin realized the truth. Zariah hadn't taken power by force. She had taken it by memory. The penthouse smelled like rain and cold steel. Zariah stood by the window when her twin entered unannounced, heels sharp against marble. "So this is how you win," the twin said bitterly. "By pretending to be merciful." Zariah didn't turn. "Mercy is expensive," she replied. "I can afford it now." The twin laughed, harsh, broken. "You were always weak." Zariah finally faced her. "No," she said calmly. "I was human." The words landed harder than any slap. "You think you're better than me?" the twin snapped. "You think love makes you strong?" Zariah stepped closer. "I think choosing power over love makes you disposable." Silence cut deep. The twins' breath faltered. "They're turning on me," she whispered. You planned this. Yes, Zariah admitted. For Ethan? For everything. The twins' voice dropped. Help me, she said. We can rule together. Like before. Zariah searched her sister's face, this mirror that had never truly reflected her. Before, Zariah said softly, you chose men who saw us as tools. I survived, the twin hissed. So did I. Zariah stepped back. You still can, she added.
Leave.
Disappear. I won't hunt you. The twin stared at her in disbelief. You're letting me go? Zariah's eyes were cold. No, she corrected. I'm releasing you. The difference mattered. 2 days later, the twin boarded a private jet under a false name. She never reached her destination. Not because Zariah ordered it. Because the world she had chosen no longer needed her. By morning, whispers spread. She was careless. She forgot who protected her. She thought blood was enough. Zariah read the report once. Then closed the file. Li Wei watched her carefully. You could have stopped it. Zariah nodded. Yes. Why didn't you? Zariah's voice was quiet. Because this world doesn't forgive hesitation. Behind glass walls miles away, Ethan read the same report. He closed his eyes. Not in grief. In understanding. They always fall. A man beside him said. The ones who don't adapt. Ethan opened his eyes. My mother adapted, he replied. That's why you should be afraid. The man frowned. Ethan smiled. One sister chose power and became nothing. One chose love and became feared. And the heir watched it all, learning exactly what kind of ruler he would be. Li Wei crossed the line at dawn. He didn't announce it. Didn't ask permission. Didn't even tell Zariah what he was about to do. Because mercy, he had learned, was a luxury reserved for people who could afford to lose. The file arrived at 4:12 a.m. Black-coated. Sealed. Marked with a name Li Wei hadn't seen in years. Han Jise. The last man alive who knew where Ethan had been taken after the compound fell. The man who sold children as leverage and called it strategy. The man Zariah had once begged for information from and been laughed at. Li Wei stared at the screen for a long time. Then he closed it and ordered a car. The warehouse sat at the edge of the port, abandoned in name only. The sea air was sharp, metallic. Inside, the lights hummed low, deliberately dim. Han Jise was already there.
Bound. Bruised.
Smiling. I wondered when you'd come, Han said hoarsely. Or, did your wife finally give you permission? Li Wei removed his jacket slowly. She doesn't need to know, he replied. Han laughed. That's what you think. Li Wei stepped closer. You trafficked my son. Han's smile faltered.
Ah, he said.
So you finally claim him. Li Wei didn't raise his voice. Where is he? Han licked blood from his lip. You won't touch me, he said. Not without proof. Not without. Li Wei shot him.
Once.
Not to kill. To end the conversation. Han screamed. The sound echoed, thin and useless. Li Wei leaned down, voice calm, almost gentle. Mercy is what I offer when I'm bargaining, he said. I'm not bargaining. It took 23 minutes. Han broke on the 24th. Inner circle, he sobbed. They moved him again, different wing. He's being groomed, not caged. Zhang wanted him clean, untouched. Li Wei straightened. Who guards him? Han hesitated. Li Wei raised the gun again. Tell me, Han whispered desperately. They don't plan to keep him forever. He's a symbol. A crown. Li Wei's grip tightened. And crowns are worn, he said. Han nodded frantically. Yes, yes, he's meant to rule something new. Li Wei pulled the trigger. This time it was final. Zariah knew something had changed the moment Li Wei returned. He moved differently. Quieter. Like a man who had cut something out of himself and cauterized the wound. You're bleeding, she said, noticing the stain on his cuff. Not mine, he replied. She studied his face. What did you do? Li Wei met her gaze. I'm sure there are fewer monsters left in the world. That was not an answer. Zariah stepped closer. You promised me no more secrets. Li Wei exhaled. I promised I wouldn't lie. Silence stretched between them.
She understood then.
And that understanding hurt more than the truth. Later, in the dark of their room, Zariah stood at the window, city lights trembling below. You killed someone for him, she said quietly. Yes. For me, she asked. Li Wei didn't hesitate. Yes. She turned, eyes shining, not with tears, but with something heavier. You crossed a line I can't uncross. I know. You did it without asking. I did. She pressed a hand to his chest. If this destroys us. I will accept that, he said. But I will not accept losing him. Zariah closed her eyes. When she kissed him, it wasn't forgiveness. It was recognition. They held each other like people standing on the edge of a cliff, aware that love would not save them, but choosing it anyway. News of Han Jisu's death spread quietly. Too quietly. Men began changing routes. Messages went unanswered. Doors locked from the inside. Someone was cleaning the board, and everyone knew who it was. Behind glass walls, Ethan paused mid-conversation. A chill ran through him. Something wrong? A councilman asked. Ethan smiled politely. No, he said. Something ended. Far away, a man lay dead. Closer still, a mother hardened her heart. And the heir understood a crucial truth. Love didn't make monsters. It justified them. He crossed the line to save his son. She stayed, knowing the cost. And the war shifted, because mercy had officially left the room. Ethan learned the inner circle's rules in 3 days. Not because they explained them. Because power always revealed itself to those patient enough to watch. Rule 1. Never speak first. Rule 2. Never show hunger. Rule 3. Blood mattered, but obedience mattered more. By the 4th day, Ethan had memorized every face in the room. By the 5th, he knew which men feared Zhang's ghost more than death. By the 6th, he knew exactly where the throne was weakest. And by the 7th, he struck. They brought him into the council chamber at dusk. No glass this time. No observation wall. Just a long obsidian table and men who believed they were gods because the world kept proving them right. You are here to learn, one of them said. Not to speak. Ethan nodded respectfully. Then he did something unexpected. He smiled. I already learned, he said calmly. A ripple of irritation passed through the room. You are a symbol, another man said sharply. A future investment. Ethan tilted his head. No, he replied. I'm a liability you don't understand. Silence followed.
Good.
Ethan slid a tablet onto the table. It activated automatically. Bank freezes. Private military contracts voided. Shell companies collapsing in real time. What is this? Someone demanded. Ethan leaned back. Your insurance, he said. And your execution. Men stood. Voices rose. You had no authority. I didn't need it, Ethan interrupted softly. I had access. One man lunged for him. The lights went out. When they came back on, the man was on the floor, gunless, humiliated, alive only because Ethan allowed it.
Guards poured in.
Then stopped. Because Ethan was already standing. And the guards were already his. You groomed me to inherit, Ethan said evenly. But inheritance assumes obedience. He walked slowly around the table. You built this world on blood and fear, he continued. So, I used bloodlines and fear to dismantle it. A man whispered, You'll start a war. Ethan paused. No, he said. I'll end one. He pressed a final command. The largest screen lit up. News feeds exploded. Zhang Keda's secret assets seized. Inner Circle members named. Governments responding. Sanctions imminent. Panic broke. And panic was fire. Ethan returned to his seat. Then stood. Then pushed the chair away. I don't want your throne, he said. I want its ashes. A councilman dropped to his knees. What do you want? He begged. Ethan's voice didn't rise. My family untouched, he said. And this world never touching another child again. No one argued. They couldn't. Because the throne was already burning. Zariah felt it before she saw it. The sudden shift. The silence in channels that never slept. Li Wei burst into the room, eyes blazing.
He did it, he said.
Zariah's heart stopped. Did what? Li Wei handed her the tablet. She read. And then she sat down slowly. He burned them, she whispered. Li Wei nodded once. He's not a hostage anymore. Tears welled in her eyes, not of fear, of pride. That night, Ethan stood alone in a room filled with quiet alarms and dead systems. He removed his jacket. For the first time since being taken, he felt free. But freedom had weight. He looked at his reflection in the glass. I did it, he whispered. Then, softer. Mom. He didn't escape the Empire. He dismantled it from the inside. And the world learned a dangerous truth. The heir didn't want the crown. He wanted justice, paid in fire. The city was quiet when Ethan returned. Not peaceful, never that, but hushed, as if the world itself was holding its breath. Zariah stood on the balcony when she felt it. Not a call, not a message, not intelligence whispered through men who feared her name.
A pull.
The kind only a mother feels.
He's here, she said.
Li Wei looked up from the table instantly. You're sure? She nodded once. I've always been sure. Ethan didn't arrive with guards. He didn't arrive in armor or victory. He walked alone through the gates of the compound, hands empty, shoulders straight, eyes steady. The boy who had left was gone. The man who returned carried quiet in his bones, the kind forged by decisions that could not be undone. Zariah reached him first. She stopped inches away. For a heartbeat, neither of them moved. Then she touched his face. You grew, she whispered. Ethan swallowed. So did you. She pulled him into her arms. Not desperately. Not protectively. As equals. Li Wei stood back, chest tight, afraid to breathe. Ethan looked at him. You should have run, Ethan said quietly. Li Wei shook his head. I don't abandon family. Ethan nodded. I know. And just like that, forgiveness not spoken but given. They sat together as dawn crept in, no guards, no screens, no weapons on the table. Just three people who had survived the same fire. It's over, Ethan said. Zariah studied his face. No, she replied gently. It's ended. The distinction mattered. They'll rebuild, Li Wei said. Ethan nodded. They always do. Zariah reached for Ethan's hand. And you? Ethan was quiet for a long moment. I won't rule, he said finally. And I won't disappear. Li Wei frowned. What does that mean? Ethan met his gaze. It means I'll make sure no one like them ever has that much power again. Zariah felt the weight of it. You'll be hunted. Ethan smiled faintly. I already was. Later, alone, Zariah stood in Ethan's old room, untouched since he left. I should have protected you better, she said softly. Ethan leaned against the doorway. You did, he replied. You taught me how to choose. Tears slipped free then, quiet, honest.
And you? She asked.
What did this war take from you? Ethan didn't answer right away. Then, my innocence. She nodded. That's the price, she said. But not the end. At sunrise, Ethan packed again. Not running. Leaving. Zariah stood beside him this time. Promise me something, she said. Anything. Don't become what you burned. Ethan met her eyes. I won't, he said. I saw what that costs. Li Wei extended a hand. Come back alive, he said simply. Ethan took it. I plan to. The car disappeared down the road. Zariah didn't chase it. She stood still, wind lifting her hair, heart steady. Li Wei came beside her. Are you afraid? He asked. She shook her head. No, she said. I raised someone who survived gods. Far away, Ethan looked out at the world. Vast, broken, waiting. A war had ended. Another kind of fight was beginning. But this one would not be fought for power. It would be fought for meaning. Blood started the war. Love ended it. And the ones who survived chose what came next.